heard me say, why is every day Groundhog's Day? Well, we might explore that just a little bit in Real Under 30. A lot more to come up. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Real Under 30. Thank you so much for joining me. Shout out to the loyal patrons, Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Chrysler Imperial H, Let the Truth Be Told, Little Miss Goth, Cold War Jesus, and AZ Infidel. Thank you so much for all that you do. And shout out to Anthony. Anthony Scioli. Thank you so much for coming in. And every now and then I will do what I call Real Under 30. So we'll try to stay true to form, if you will. And this is it's going to be mostly commentary. I had one thing to share, specific thing to share. And it's going to cross-reference some of the things that I'm going to be commenting on this segment. So shout out to everyone in the stream. Thank you so much to the loyal patrons, as well as the subscribers and the followers on Periscope. Thank you so much. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. And of course, this is a bit of a flash stream, but flash streams come in all forms. And of course, they take their own shape. So sometimes I don't know where those are going to go. And I think sometimes that's a little bit spontaneous, a little sporadic, but it's also a little bit more, it can be a little bit exciting. Shout out to you, Chrysler Imperial H. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you so much for coming in. And what I was opening up with, and this will not take long, so I will try to make this as painless as possible. So as I opened up with, you've heard me say, why is every day Groundhog's Day? Well, even this year's Groundhog's Day had a framing that appeared to be like Groundhog's Day, but now that we're in September, it seems like what do you want to call it? Seems like more like April Fool's, even more at times than Groundhog's Day. And you'll find out, I'll give you the frame for that in just a second. But, I know it's October, but, you have, what do we have right now? It's raining emails. Now, this is, for those of you, whether you're going to call this a tin hat or conspiracy theorists, whatever CIA terms that you learned best from your generation, whatever makes you feel good, and whatever works best for you. It's raining emails on the deep state, apparently, bombshells. But the media has built a full-on buffer wall around the DNC, the technocrats, and the auxiliaries. So where does that leave us? I mean, we have I've talked about this before, we have this huge confluence of things that are going on, and we have a lot of very disturbing things that are coming out. And yet the media is not saying one word, which actually, let me take that back. The New York Post has released a story, a huge story on Hunter Biden and his, it looks like his seedy lifestyle is at the forefront of that release. But there's also the implication, the Ukrainian implication. It's here again. I've said this before. I'm not the originator of this, but they say if you want to know what the left's crimes are, all you have to do is look at what they're accusing Trump of. That's President Donald Trump. Look at it. So if I have time, I'll go into that story a bit, but that's why I'm not talking about emails. There's also, I think he's even being stalled on some of the reauthorization on the D class, the DNI. I think that some of that is not being released, but I even think that Clinton's emails were supposedly on tap. But I'm going to say more so than all of the emails and the bombshells and all the protections that seem that are, to be out there, or the buffers that seem to exist between justice for all and justice for them. I want to talk a little bit more about these ACB hearings, and here I've told you we're doing acronyms here. Where ACB is the Amy Coney Barrett hearings. I know you guys are probably not tuning into those because they're pretty excruciating. I get that, so I tuned in so you don't have to. And of course, I always encourage you guys to be your own best fact checker. So you can always go on. Of course, there's tons of footage between the C-SPAN and Fox News. I mean, you want to cross check all of them. I mean, take a look at all of them if you like. But I am just doing a bit of commentary because I find it interesting. Like, I think, I mean, I'm not a law student. I don't profess to be. That's not a domain of competence for me. But I would imagine that I think that ACB, that's Amy Coney Barrett, she gives her responses are pretty clear. I mean, Americans can get their law degree on these hearings. Of course, it's, with the way they're, she's being cross-examined on, of course. I don't know how you cross-examine anyone from the left. Okay. The left, of course, they're showing all kinds of delegitimacy in the process because it's being done inside of an election year and in less than so many days, and womp, 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 womp. Yes, but how is it that you come in and cross-reference somebody and you really don't know that much about, the person's writings or their convictions? You don't know much about ACB. And I find that to be staggering with these senators that are interviewing her. It's embarrassing. I mean, it's one thing for the American education system to appear to be slightly lacking in civics and education about our government, civics and government, but it is quite another to have senators going at Barrett with what they're not prepared. If you're trying to present an argument, a strong argument, you need strong support, or you need support that matches. The logic should match. I mean, or whether you were even in debate. I'm not even sure if the debate teams are a part of the American, if it's even something that the students engage in anymore, if it's part of extracurricular or what. It's really staggering. So I'm not going to take a long time. I'm going to highlight some specific quotes or specific arguments made, which, many of them are just talking in circles. So, okay. So with that said, I'm also applauding ACB. I don't know her record, but I'm also not on the Judiciary Committee, so I'm not held to the same standards. I think that the American people should demand much more from these senators, whatever side you think you're on, or whatever shade of whatever you think you're on, because even ACB, she was spot on. She talked about earlier today about how we the people are closer in some of the instance of precedents. She talked about, she cited many, precedents and what it means, and explaining things to the people that are examining her and reviewing her. But she said something that I talk about on this show quite a bit when it comes to civics. We the people, these are not her exact words, but she did say the people are closer to their states. And that's where your federalism comes in, that the states have their own rights. And see, that's what I talk about a lot. I'm an advocate on this channel for we the people we should have a working knowledge of our city government, as well as that, before you even get to the states and to that seat of power. But the power that is closest to you here I've advocated for is between the city, your city and county. That's where your most of your power is. So if things are going on, whether it's in your city council or whether it's drag queen story time, all these things I've advocated for, they start at your city and county level because that's what you're closest to. The state is another level. If you've had success or if you've been active, if you're fortunate enough to be, or if you have the time to be active on more than one level, or if you had success reaching for that second tier, then great. But I think she's absolutely spot on when she talked about that proximity. And that's a part of civics. Most people don't have the framework or the concepts of their power. And I think that's another reason why people are they become disengaged and they become their head down, eyes up. They just want little to do. They want little to do with our system. And they've turned a lot of people off, but now people are turned back on. I will say that the president, Donald Trump, has certainly brought people that, that had total disdain for government or for politics. They are interested. They're interested on some levels. They want to detach, but they realize that they need to be a part of. They need a partnership with their local government or their city or their county, and then of course you go to that second tier. But the point is that the government the founding fathers actually designed this whole thing, and then a part of the original design is what I'm expressing was to actually, they are supposed to govern for us. Even though we are electing them, they should be governing for us and not over us. But as you can see with these lockdowns, you've got people governing over us. And I'm not going to get into California or New York at this time. That's not what this stream is for. Shout out to everybody in the stream, or shout out to those of you who just couldn't decide whether you were coming in or not, but I really appreciate it. So thank you for tuning into this podcast / I'll do some imagery on this, but so I'm going to keep going. So what it appears to be in many cases, when they're not spending their time on hypotheticals and showing their own ignorance, this is the Senate, this is the left, when they're not showing their own ignorance for the law or for civics or for government. I'm like, how are you working in government and you come up with these loop arguments? And here ACB, that's Amy Coney Barrett, she's having to educate them. That is embarrassing. She's having to educate them on the difference between rights, individual rights, and civics. I find these are career politicians up there on the left. So I'm just thinking, do they even what are the standards for the people that are supposedly serving? Do they take a civics test? Looks like they need to be sitting next to some of these people, at downtown that are taking some of these people that are passing going through their immigration process before you can be allowed to serve on the Senate, or before you get to that level of government. How can you be in government and be dumb as rocks? You can't even form, like, nobody wants to hear a poorly constructed argument with no support, or nobody wants to hear a 7th grade argument with no. It's one thing to have a 7th grade argument, but then you don't even have enough support. It has no support. And then you just end up looping the room into, I remember she had to do so many loops because many of these leftist Democrats are asking her questions. They're basically asking her to make some type of predetermination minus the process. And she's telling them, well, listen, you guys are trying to compromise. You're trying to discredit me and compromise me at the same time. You're asking me to make comments on something that either may come up, post confirmation, or you're asking me to make judgments on things, on precedents or things that are already established. But she had to literally, Durbin, Representative Durbin was the example. And I would play it for you, but it's because it's a long day of that process is long. Maybe we'll do it later. But I'm just saying, apples to oranges. You had all kinds of craziness. I don't know the people's backgrounds. I don't know who these people's constituents are, but they are absolutely in no man's land. And then the things that they brought out was just a bunch of rhetoric and propaganda. I mean, it was like, and then on top of that, then they start attacking the president. So how much of the hearing is about her confirmation and about her qualifications and about her ability to interpret the law, because that is her philosophy. And it even I'll get into something else. I'm just going to mention a couple of things here. I mean, what we had? We had Senator Lee from Vermont. I mean, he's looking for trying to cite corruption clause. And then she had to I mean, did they even run their presentations by anybody before they get on national TV and look like the paid crooks that they are? The empty paid crooks, empty suit crooks that they are. I mean, maybe I think some high school kids can set up some better arguments than this and support them better. This is what I'm saying. This is what it's shout out to Derek C. Williams. The Banana Republic is looking real. It's getting real. Okay, I've got 13 minutes. I'm going to keep going. So Lee, he's an older gentleman. Okay, he keeps going. And do you believe anyone's above the law? So all of a sudden it goes from we are on the bipolar express between ACB and impeachment 2.0. It's almost like they're building. I'm going to tell you the truth. It's almost like they're building the impeachment 2.0 case right now. It's like you guys already feel the pressure. You already feel the loss on some level. You already feel like you've lost this thing. So why don't you go ahead and try to circumvent any court cases that might come up or compromise ACB during her confirmation hearing? I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, this guy Lee brought up, and I'm not even going to go into Booker. Booker was yesterday. She got the white supremacist litmus test, by the way. And he was just totally he was just a mess. Incomprehensible. Another one. He and Kamala Harris, I don't know. Maybe they're sharing a brain. I don't know. But back to Lee from Vermont. He's talking about he has to highlight blacks standing in line for votes. Well, who doesn't stand in line for votes if they want to vote? Is there legislation that they can create to make it where black people don't stand in line for votes? I mean, he even pulls out this random photograph, which actually looks like a bunch of construction workers, not to discredit anyone's profession. And you can't even, like, what are you trying to convince people of? It's so loosey goosey. It's kangaroo court, kangaroo hearings. Okay. So you get that. Something about voters standing in line for 10 hours. Well, nobody complained. The DMV has the same result. So what are you? I'm just saying, it's these arguments, the things that come up in these hearings are just. I'm telling you, these people are incompetent. They're incompetent, and to me, they're lazy. I'm not going to euphemize it. I'm going to give you the old-fashioned, old-school lazy. They don't even prepare their presentations. They show up with a couple of, and see, I think Coney ACB, she pretty much showed them all up, because I forgot which one of the senators asked her, what are you looking at when you look down? And she holds up a blank piece of paper. And these people have been serving in government for decades. And they have all of that disarray of paper and notebooks in front of them, but they can't even provide support for what they're arguing. They're arguing against her confirmation, but they can't even make a clear statement, and they can't even support it. They pull out pictures and props and doing parlor tricks. We got serious issues with this Congress. Serious. And to me, until these things are resolved, it will never be right. It will never be. And when I say that, and that if that stings, if that burns, you got to get over it. We can't live up to our potential if we've got the tolerance for the incompetence, the ignorance, the laziness, the corruption. And I'm echoing another point right now. I don't see corruption as a left-right issue. It's an illegal issue. If any of these parties are doing illegal things, why are they above the law? And the amount of stuff that's come out, which I've told you guys, I preface this whole thing about all these bombshells dropping, but none of them touches the Democrats or anybody. None of them. But yet, if they bring a case, they can bring anything to the floor and bring the Republicans up on charges. I'm saying it's really. I'm saying if they can do what they do in the manner that they've done it, with the amount of impunity that the left has done what they've done, are you convinced that they can't just do what they want to do with this election? I'm just saying. I mean, we can be hopeful, we can be prayerful, we can be good vibes and great vibes and sparkling vibes, but we gotta sniff the flower and blow out the candle sometimes. I'm saying I don't know what's going to happen. And see, all these bombshells and all these things are dropping, and something just totally rang out. People are already voting. So if there's anything that would come out, like, well, who cares if is it a tabloid that you're releasing this information for? If it's not leading to any type of prosecution, why release all of this stuff? Why? If you and I do something illegal, we're going to jail. Shout out to the definition of anarchy. Trying to be real here. Real under 30, right? Okay, I better get on with it. So so like I said, I'm not going to make it too painful on this, but I'm just saying, like, this two-tier justice system. If there are two tiers, is there really justice? I mean, I know I'm doing hypotheticals. Maybe it's not right. Maybe. But hey, everybody else is high on hypotheticals. So it's just a rhetorical question. You know, if DC if they have a life, see, this is the thing. You got lifetime appointments on the judiciary circuit in the branch, and looks like you got lifetime appointments or lifetime buffers from criminal or impunities. You have a lifetime of impunities if you're serving in the Congress as well. You know, call me crazy, but it's like everybody is above the law, and us peasants, we just have to sit back and watch. And to me, I will tell you, is one thing about it within the last 5 years or more than that, more people could see it before now. This one thing about this pandemic, it has shown you that you've got your delineation between the elites, you know, their auxiliaries. And when I say that, I'm referring to these celebs, these news anchors. All of these people have they operate with a type of impunity that you and I will never have. But I've told you this before. I don't know what it is with people that idolize celebs and whatnot, or even people in our government. I don't know what it is. Maybe they feel closer to them if they think they can agree with them, because they feel that because they idolize them, that somehow makes them closer to them. I don't know what it is. But I'm just saying there is, this whole justice, this idea of justice is way wonky. It's way wonky, and I don't see it getting any better. I don't. I mean, if you got Teflon, if you got Teflon around you, you full, lifetime impunity, you just do whatever you want. And you're protected at those levels. But you and I, what do we get? If there's justice, why is that happening? Why is that happening? So I'm going to kind of wrap up here because I'm getting down to the wire here a little bit on this one. However, I did talk about the incompetence and the amount of laziness that's on this Judiciary Committee. I mean, they're trying to delegitimize it. Well, I'm like, okay, well, you don't even do your homework before you come into a courtroom. I mean, you come into a committee to do a hearing on somebody that's going to be a justice, that's potentially going to be the next justice. And you can't even, your arguments are horrible. You have weak arguments and you have no support to go with them. So you end up talking people in a loop, and she ends up responding the same way, same response. I mean, she could have run around the room 5 times saying the same thing across the board. And I'm saying I was impressed with the fact she has no notes. She has no notes, but they're standing there with a case full of notes and notebooks and binders and pictures of people. Everything is about, we need you government, big brother government. We need you for everything. You're the answer to everything. Ho, 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 ho. You're a career politician. And it's worse than being bored. It's lazy, complacent people in DC. And did I say corrupt? I'm pretty sure I said that earlier. So I'm going to finish this one up. So I'm going to say quickly, I mean, she totally you could have got your law degree today just watching this, because I think she's very concise with what she says. And when she has to debunk something or the manipulation that's going on, she's basically saying, look, this is a matter of, you're talking civics versus individual rights, and you're taking this out of context. You're comparing the Second Amendment rights to voting rights. You're twisting my position, or you're making my dissent something else. And for one of my final points, I mean, this was a lot of hypotheticals. They wanted her to answer a lot of hypotheticals. We'll find out, I'm not on any of these committees, but I'm telling you, at least they could have done some homework before they show up for this thing. Because if you do some homework, you might actually be able to have an argument, and you might actually be able to support it. But it just looks like somebody just handed them a few pictures from out in the audience, and then they just start blabbering and complaining. So, of course, they talked about, oh, well, you're making history, of course, framing it in negative rhetoric, negative precedents. You're making history being the first nominee during an election for a political agenda, more whining. And then they're whining about the purging of outdated voter rolls, which if somebody's deceased, then that person's name should be purged from they don't tell people. See, that's the thing. They get a lot of people in their emotions about things, but they don't explain what they're talking about. Like Joe Biden can say, oh, you guys are fascinated with that. We're fascinated with wanting to know the truth. Where's the point of fascination? We want to know if you're going to pack the court. And see, they don't push back. Not the media hacks on these debates, and certainly not in these conferences that they get him on. His feet are not held to the fire on any level. So I'm going to move on here. And so, of course, like I said, it felt more like impeachment 2.0, which I think that's what they're doing. If you can't beat them, you got to build another case for impeachment 2.0. I don't know if that's, I'm not projecting anything. I'm not doing a poll right now on who's the winner or what the outcome is going to be. I think it's going to be quite messy. I think it could go either way because of that C word that I talked about earlier. And I'm not talking about the pandemic. I'm not. So my final section here is, I thought that this was a brilliant point by Senator Josh Hawley, who basically pointed out, ACB, you have your own mind and your own philosophy. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that was his point when it comes to the way she's going to interpret law, if confirmed. But then for me, it kind of goes back. There's a point of hypocrisy in there. So why? I mean, for the left, if the shoe were on the other foot, if it were the right, if it was them on the other side of the table in this position, they would try to argue or suggest that because she was under the influences or the auspices under Scalia, that, her memory is guided by, or his philosophy, the philosophy of a male, or she's dominated by his philosophy, the patriarchy, the whole 9 yard. So she would be attacked. She would probably be attacked from the feminist perspective because they're saying, well, she can't, man. And I'm sure that's another point that they're making on the outside, that she can't be objective. I mean, she was under Scalia as a law clerk, or she can't make, she's too compromised. So they're going to come up with all kinds of things. But I'm just saying, like, I watch these things because I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. But it's just interesting to see. It's another expose to me, the kind of incompetence and the kind of behavior that Americans have tolerated in Congress. And I just don't know. I don't know how this is going to get any better. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think she will be confirmed, but I'm just saying that it's just the process. It's just the dignity of what's going on, the dignity of our process, the bombshells that are dropping. It just makes us look like we're not real, and that we're living under, it's a fairy tale. And when I say fairy tale, take it as you wish. I don't know, Cinderella, Kiss the Frog Prince. I mean, Kiss the Frog, he turns into a prince. I don't know. It just does not. This is just not. It's looking more like we have a concept. We are lauding a concept, but are we living under this wonderful concept or this just premise? Founding premise? No, we're not. And we'll see. I think anything else that people, more things are going to come out, but who cares if they come out, if they're not leading, if no one's being prosecuted? I mean, I'm thinking a part of this whole thing. That's why I said I'm more of a cynic that says it's now or never. If you don't do it now and you're not reelected, then if nothing happens now, it's not likely to happen. It's just going to pile on. You're going to have more, the corruption will pile on. Shout out to DJ Vision Barnett. It's just piling on. And a lot of people are furious about some of the things that have come out recently. I don't know if you guys are following it. I'm not really covering it right now. But if the cover-ups and that whole little trio and wow. That whole issue, that whole situation with the SEAL team, if any of that, I'm not really speaking on that. If that is true, I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know why those people are still walking around if that is true. I don't know. I don't have the answers for that. I did have one quick imagery that I wanted to show. So very apropos to my point today, and I'm going to round out on this one. was trying to wrap up. So this kind of segues me into the wrap up here. So of course, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Judicial Watch. The president, Tom Fitton, is going he's going to be, I guess he's going to be a part of the oversight committee. But I'm just thinking, I just don't know if, I don't know. I mean, Clinton has squirreled out of many things that Judicial Watch was trying to bring her up on. So I'm just going to give you really quickly, who knows? Who knows? There's a commission that I think that was created. So let's give you that, and then we're going to wrap this one up. I said real under 30, and I'm already going into 60 instead. Wrong title. Hope you're not too disappointed with that. But thank you guys so much. Shout out to the Definition of Anarchy. Thank you so much for all you do. Shout out to DJ Vision Barnett. I really appreciate you guys for your support, and thank you so much for taking care with the Channelytics. So what you see before you is, I'm going to give you this, and this kind of speaks to, this comes from the source Just the News. I'm not very familiar with that, but I think I think they have something like that going on. So this is Trump to name Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton to Court Oversight Committee. So he's apparently this is titling him as a conservative activist, quote, honored and humbled, end quote, by nomination. So let's see if I can play this. I'm not sure.
I understand.
Okay, so actually this one is actually going to be more on Barrett. But we'll play that one later. Just want to get into this. So back to Tom Fitton. So President Trump will nominate conservative activist and Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton to a key court oversight agency in Washington, D.C., the White House announced this week. Fitton will be appointed to the District of Columbia Commission on Judicial Disabilities and Tenure, the White House announced on Friday. That commission has the ability to censor and or remove judges from both the D.C. Superior Court and District Court of Appeals. It was created in 1970. In a tweet on Friday, Fitton thanked the president for the looming appointment. Quote, I am honored and humbled by your confidence, end quote, he said. Quote, now please get well soon. Okay, so that was, so there's your announcement there. But, so yeah, so that's Tom Fitton. So like I said, I don't know. I mean, Judicial Watch has sued quite a few times for a lot of this corruption that's going on, but it is at large. These people are at large. I mean, I don't know I really don't know. I'm telling you, a lot of people are very angry right now, and it's very sad. It's very sad. It's very sad if the previous administration was based on, if it was based on a lie, then that means we all have been had. It's very sad. And I don't want to get into it too much because that's not what I was covering on this segment, but I just thought I would try to get in and get out. I didn't quite do it under 30, but I really appreciate you guys. And so yeah, I thought you might want to hear something about what's going on in this whole, but see, that's the thing about the ACB. I think that's a distraction in itself, because there's always a confluence of things going on. There's never, you can never have, they've got everybody distracted with the ACB thing. Okay. Or no, first it was RGB's death. Now we're already moving along with this. And of course they've claimed that, the Republicans have stolen, So now you're up to ACB and her confirmation. Meanwhile, you got bombshells dropping with emails and cocaine exposure. The New York Post, I'll at least give you the link. I said I wasn't going to get into this because I wasn't trying to get into this. But New York Post has released an email that confirms. So why is this, just like everything about the pandemic that has come out either from the CDC, why is it just piling on? You've got piles of evidence of corruption, piles of evidence of technocracy across many networks. but nothing's happening. Meanwhile, people in the voting booth, some people, I told you guys this about a week or so ago, half the people that should read these things, that should be informed, they would rather not. And I also talked about this the last stream. Does America even care about facts? No, what we should be saying, does America care about corruption? About who's actually doing the corruption? Some things you just can't. I mean, I can't euphemize these issues anymore because they are what they are. They're ugly. So shout out to everybody in the stream. Thank you so much for coming out. DJ Vision Barnett and The Definition of Anarchy, Chrysler Imperial Age, and Anthony Scioli. I really appreciate it. So you guys stay tuned. I'm going to be trying to get some actual videos out, or something in maybe a different format. Something maybe in a different format out to you later in the week. If not later in the day, definitely not later in the day today. I don't think so. But the hearings are still going on, and it's a lot to adjust, a lot to listen to, but I'm not sure how much more of it I can listen to. So I just try to go in and see the highlights, and I think I caught those between Durbin needing to be educated on civics and individual rights, and yeah, so that's that. But there again, I'm not giving any judgment on ACB right now, because we'll see. I mean, we have some issues that are very important to the nation. I have my own individual concerns about them having somebody. They get somebody in, and who knows what, I don't know how this is going to work out. I mean, you have a Justice Roberts, these personalities in there that say that they're going to just they're going to follow the law, and look what they do. They end up being more pundit, more politician than they are, or more, for the tin hat wearers or believers, more skull and bones. So who knows? I just think that, at this point, all bets are off. It's all bets are off. So hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming in. And maybe I'll see you guys around for another flash stream in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching on the replay. And I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday.